Great. Hello, my name is Karen Caig, and I am a licensed Reiki Master Teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. And I have the privilege of having one of my colleagues here today, Jules Davis. She's also a licensed Reiki Master Teacher. Hello, Jules.
Hello, Karen and everybody.
Um, as you know, the purpose for the International Center for Reiki Training is to support Reiki master teachers and Reiki practitioners to educate. So we do these licensed Reiki master teacher LRMT spotlights to one, feature our licensed teachers, and two, to learn some tips from them. So Jules has agreed to talk with us today. She is the owner of Aura Lux in Los Angeles. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I can't wait to go visit in person. She has lots of crystals you can see there behind her. And Jules is also a psychic medium. So we asked or thought about what could she help us with, and we decided that what she could help the most with was to discuss intuition and how she incorporates intuition into her Reiki sessions. So thank you, Jules, for joining us, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you for having me, Karen. Yeah, I started studying and developing my intuition before I ever took my first Reiki class. But I feel like as soon as I took my first Reiki class, things just started falling into place a little bit more for me, as far as connecting the dots and connecting the pieces. I used to like put my hands into somebody's energy field and I just would get all of this information about them. And I realized that at first I wasn't using good discernment. So I would just like get all this information about them and see all the traumas and tragedies that they'd experienced in their lives. And then I'd talk about it with them after the session. And I didn't really have a good boundary up. And I was so excited that, what I was feeling, they could relate to without telling me anything that, I had to learn some tools and techniques of how to properly work with my intuition and Reiki.
Yeah, I do get students like that sometimes in my classes, and I'm like, yeah, all I know is you can't be a Reiki practitioner and do that because you can't experience all that. You'll just be dead by the end of the day. So what did you do?
It was more like learning how to separate them as modalities. So now I consciously will blend and, become aware, just like we do in the beginning where we're scanning the auric field or something like that. And I'm just asking for intuitive guidance of how I can help them. I do offer sessions where I combine my intuition in a much more deep way, and I'll go very deep with my clients and like help them because I can see these kinds of things that I see. And then I use Reiki techniques to help release the energy with them. But I've learned to practice discernment. So I'll tune in to see what's going on in their energy fields. And then I will just back off and let the energy do the work. Because when we're constantly looking psychically at them and looking for information, because we're maybe excited about that, or we're just in there, we're actually, I feel personally, not letting the Reiki purely flow through us because we're distracted a little bit by that psychic information and connection. And so I just consciously will say, okay, now I'm just a clear channel for the Reiki energy. Doesn't mean that I don't get some intuitive feedback as I'm working on them, but I'm not looking for it. I'm not like, searching psychically, how can I help this person the whole time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. So, do you think if someone is beginning to tune in to their clients more, that they should pursue that and ask for it?
I feel like, it's a good thing to develop so that you get tools and how to understand the information that you get. Because most people who are interested in Reiki are naturally sensitive. We're all intuitive beings, we're all sentient beings. We can all feel energy and become aware of things. Some of us are much more sensitive just naturally. But you can learn how to develop it so that you can understand it better, so that you're not also just giving kind of fragmented bits and pieces of information to somebody at the end of the session. I don't usually talk to people that much during the session, depending on the kind of session I'm doing. But at the end, if you want to give some feedback, I always say, ask the information if it's appropriate to share, because sometimes we might become aware of something, but it might not be the best timing to give that information as well, or how we give the information is also important. So through development and understanding, I've done extensive training and learned how to really work with my intuition and also my mediumship, because at first I was just aware of spirits sometimes that were there with the people that were coming in for me, and I'd be like, your dad is here. And then I didn't really say much beyond that, and that could open the faucet, of just like tears, but I didn't know how to communicate properly. So then I started developing my mediumship and learning really how to get in there and work with the spirit and blend with them and get the information. But that's also a separate modality. So I'm not often aware of the spirits because I'm not consciously trying to connect with spirit when I'm doing my Reiki sessions. But if I am aware of somebody there, I'm just like, okay, I know you're here. We're doing Reiki right now. If you have something that you want me to share, let me know quick, because I'm just focused on being a channel of the Reiki energy in that moment. And then sometimes I'll share if I'm aware of somebody afterwards, just very briefly. Um, but it's like when you get the attunements, it just opens up those channels within you. So it can be all of a sudden people are really excited because they're like aware of all of this stuff. And so learning how to separate them as modalities that are separate. So when you're talking to your clients, you can discern this is coming from my intuition, this is coming from the Reiki. That makes sense to
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wish I'd known you that, because I'm not psychic, but I think you're right that it does open up abilities that you didn't have before. And so what I'll just share really quickly what happened to me, I guess it was over a year and a half ago, is that there was someone there. It was the client's father,
Mm,
and I was giving Reiki and I was really tuned into that, but I kept hearing, "Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I'm
no.
sorry." And it just wouldn't stop. And this client was like a mortgage banker, and I didn't want her to think I was crazy. And I'm just sharing this because I think maybe there's some other practitioners out there that may have, experienced the same
Oh,
thing. So
yeah.
finally, because it just wouldn't stop, I said, please don't think I'm crazy, but I think there's someone here. It's a man, and he keeps telling me to tell you he's sorry, and I'm sorry if that's weird. But she started to cry, and that's when she revealed that it was her father, and that um, he had committed suicide because he had a terminal illness, and that she didn't get
Mhm.
to say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
So, what should I have done in that situation? Because I guess I did, because I couldn't even
Yeah.
focus. I couldn't focus on. I was really distracted from the flow of Reiki even until I
Yeah.
said that. So did I do
Yeah,
the right?
just acknowledging the spirit. You say you're not a psychic, but it sounds like you're a medium, Karen, if they're communicating with you. So maybe that's something we'll talk about later and you can develop with me. But just it's okay to acknowledge that that's there. I'm not saying like
I should
discount it
probably
or
should have
don't say
said,
it.
"I hear you," and then I'll tell her later. I'll tell her at the end. I should have held it
Yeah. If
close it.
I'm aware of spirit, I'm just like, hi, I feel you here. And we're doing the Reiki right now. And if there's something important that I need to know why you're here, just let me know. And then I just go on with my Reiki session. But I'm also like very, developed and experienced. So
I'm not.
anybody else can just say, hi, who are you? And if there's something important, just let me know. Because sometimes I'll even feel, sometimes I feel spirit guides coming in that are protective of their people and they're just observing what's happening in the session. Sometimes I feel loved ones coming in either to make communication or also for the same reason. They're just they're observing, they're protective of their people that are there. But I don't always feel spirit there as far as that kind of communication. Spirit's always with us because we are doing spiritual healing. So spirit's with us regardless when we're open in that way to receive the Reiki and channel it. So we're opening ourselves up to do the healing so that can make us more open and aware and sensitive to spirit energy or just our intuition starting to flow through us.
So would you recommend, if that's happening a lot, would you recommend that practitioners get some training?
Yes. Yeah. It's just a way of stretching yourself and understanding. It gives you some structure. And then It's not to take away, like the way that I teach is not to take away the naturalness of the person, of how they connect, but more just to give them tools to help them understand what it is that they're receiving. Sometimes we don't
These
always
classes,
understand.
you
What?
teach, do you
Oh
teach this?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I teach
Oh, I didn't
that.
even know that. All right, I'm gonna be signing up, I know. Oh, that's good to know because it's, yeah, because Reiki, I think a lot of the people who may be watching that they start on this Reiki path and then it's a journey and more things start opening up and but I think that that's one thing that you don't really know how to handle or how to develop, as you said, discernment. Like, what should
Yeah.
I do?
Yeah, what does this mean, and so so I always tell people, if I'm going to blend more intuitively or psychically with them, I always ask their permission first, instead of just doing it. I'm going to blend with them for the sake of understanding the energy and how to do my hand placement, but if we're taking it deeper and I'm blending with them for other reasons, for like healing stuff, sometimes we'll have to go down their timeline to see where something began. Or I know there's different techniques that I use. I always make sure they understand that that's a separate modality. And so I ask their permission for that. Just like using crystals or sound, blending psychically and working with your intuition in a more profound way. That is a separate modality you're bringing into the Reiki practice. So some people feel like, oh, I have to be really psychic in order to practice Reiki. That's not true. You don't have to. Just a general awareness of the energy is fine, which will come in naturally. Everybody, like I said, has the ability to feel energy. But if you do feel like you're more sensitive or that starts to really open up, it is something that I feel, if you study with a great teacher, they can help to hone your skills, and then you can learn how to work with that in a really positive way.
So do you ask the person before you begin the session, do you out loud say, I have other modalities that sometimes I incorporate? And do you mind if I use that? Or do you just sort of ask their higher self and go with what you get?
Yeah, good question. Usually it's during the consultation time, we'll talk about what kind of session we're going to do
Oh,
before we even get started. And so I offer something in a lengthier session. And then I work, sometimes with the Holy Fire healing experience. I use that quite a bit in my sessions. And we're identifying where energy is being stored. And I can actually tune in psychically and go through the whole experience with them, to help them, because sometimes people get, it's hard for them to see or feel or, something like that. So that might be a way that I use it in combination with Reiki. Sometimes I get a lot of feedback about, specific event or time period in their life where stuff was going on. And helping to bring that awareness up to the surface can be really healing for them. But again, that's a separate modality and a separate technique that I've just developed over time. And I'm very aware that it's not Reiki, that's my intuition, but I'm always doing Reiki the whole time and blending with the energy and asking Reiki to guide the process for the highest good of my client during that time.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So anyone who has a practice who may have some of these other gifts or modalities or abilities, then they could think, as far as business goes, they could expand their offerings perhaps and make them like two separate things or something longer, like you said. I'm
Yeah.
checking to see if there are any questions because we're doing this through the Zoom.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of hello, everybody. Oh, everybody's
Hello.
friendly.
Yeah.
Everybody's
They
like,
can also,
hello,
um,
hello.
you can
Uh,
also offer like a psychic reading, in addition to a lot of my people come in and they get a psychic reading and a healing session. So then it's very clear that the psychic reading is separate. And that's like us in a chair like this, just talking about what's going on in their life.
that's a great idea because, yeah, because actually, so you're physically changing positions so you can
Yeah.
clearly
Yeah.
distinguish, like, this is Reiki, this is a psychic reading.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because
That's
a lot of people need guidance. It's very beneficial if you have that knack or if you want to develop it to help people. It can be a very beneficial coupling the two together.
mhm. Yeah. Well, Jules, I hope I know how to end this properly. This has been really, really helpful. And if you are watching, I'm glancing down. Oh, wait, here's one. How do you work on building your intuition? Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
We might maybe here for days on that one, but
Yeah, the
could you
simple
give any
technique,
tips?
yeah, the simple techniques are actually sitting in meditation, in an active meditation of blending with the spiritual energy, the spiritual beings that are around us, and just helping to bring your energy up into that vibration. So that it's more of like an active meditation than a passive, like I'm just going to be knocked out or something like that. It's an active form of meditation. That's a really good way to start to hone your intuition. You can also very much ask Reiki to help you to open that up for you. Sitting in meditation or giving yourself Reiki, I love to put one hand on my heart and one hand on my belly and just sit there and feel the energy flowing through me. And you can always use Reiki with intentions and just asking, you know, help me with this or that in my intuition, or help me blend more easily with my client or the person I'm working with today so that I can help them. I always say for their highest good. That's always my intention with every work, everything, every modality that I use. How can I help this person for their highest good?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Okay. I figured out how to do the stop the live stream when it's time to stop. Yay. Um, great advice. Good. Thank you. If any of you, I forget where to look. If any of you have any questions, because we try to keep these short, but if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in, especially if you're catching this on the replay. I know it's a busy weekend and people will come back and watch this. So if you have any questions you would like to ask Jules, type them in there and we will get back to you eventually with an answer. I would love for you guys to check out her website, see what she offers. If you're interested in classes, she's a fabulous teacher. As you can see, she's got um, a lot of experience and lots of different angles. So, Jules, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye.